We are talking the latest Detroit Lions news and rumors for you folks. In this video, is Dan Campbell on the hot seat? I don't know where some of these reports came out, but I got to talk about it just for a quick minute. Julian Okwara really could be on the trade block and on the move in a week. Should the Lions look to trade Romeo Okwara? And same with other players potentially that could be traded. Let's go. Let's get to 400 likes in this video, folks. With your help, it definitely can happen. All you got to do is smash that like button, show Chat Sports what we got going on. Now, could Dan Campbell be on the hot seat? Some word came out yesterday. I've seen some articles, people talking about it online. Is this legitimate? Well, when you look at what Dan Campbell's record is in 2021, 3-13-1. Last year, 9-8. This year, we have no idea. And we all know that Dan Campbell is loving the expectation for the Lions this year. He says, honestly, my wife will send me something. The Lions director of football operations, Brad Holmes, send me something that somebody wrote or this or that, Campbell said. The writers recognize that he actually is really a brilliant football mind. You know, he's the kneecap joke. Come on. And honestly, none of it bothers me. The positive or the negative, I don't really care. I know who I am, and I'm comfortable with my skin. He's embracing the expectations for our Detroit Lions, and that's a good thing. But is he on the hot seat? I think that's utterly ridiculous. I do not think he's on the hot seat at all, folks. Sign a 6-year deal. The Lions are the first time beloved and doing everything right. It makes zero sense for Dan Campbell to be on the hot seat, and I don't believe any of that stuff that came out. He is embracing expectations. That's a good thing. He is embracing what people think about him. He really don't care. He just wants to win football games, and I think that's exactly what the Detroit Lions are going to do. So I don't believe it. I don't think a lot of people should, but hey, I'm going to throw it in the comment section right now. Should Dan Campbell be on the hot seat? Y for yes and N for no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get into something that's actually realistic here. Julian Okwara trade. Could he be on the move? It is absolutely very possible that Julian Okwara could be on the move here. I was told this weeks ago that there was conversations with Julian Okwara and other teams, and I talked to Chat Sports, I talked to some individuals, and legitimately, Julian Okwara could be traded to the New York Giants. I was talking to Marshall Green with Chat Sports. He was hearing it too. And so is everybody else, because if you look in the rumor mill or look at anything in Google, it's all on there as well. I do believe this is a real possibility. I do believe that the Detroit Lions will eventually trade Julian Okwara. Now, it may not be with the New York Giants. It could be another team, but they're one team that sticks out. Why? Not only have you heard the rumors, but it makes a lot of sense because Julian Okwara sacked their quarterback 3 times in preseason week 1. That coaching staff had the time to look at him and watch what he was doing. You pair him up with Kayvon Thibodeau, maybe you can get a better out of him with pass rush. That is very possible, and it makes sense. So when I look at this rumor, I think it's a very hot rumor. I think it's legitimate rumor. I think that Julian does get traded. What would the compensation be for Julian Okwara? What potentially would the Lions get in return? I don't think it's going to be much. If you're expecting to get a 3rd-round pick or a 4th, that seems to be ludicrous. I would say a 7th-round pick, maybe a pick swap, 6th for 7th. You're not going to get anything big from Julian Okwara because he's been hit or miss since his time in Detroit. He's shown the ability to pass rush, but he has not shown a lot in regards to stopping the run. He's a player who has been injured throughout his career so far in the National Football League. And if you do remember, he was injured in college, and that's why his stock dropped in the draft. So I'm not thinking the Lions are going to get much. And plus, if we believe he's on the end of the spectrum of making the 53-man roster, and that's you as a fan, me as a fan, everybody who writes, everybody who covers the Lions, they generally all have that feeling. You're telling me that teams, scouts, general managers, and coaches, they wouldn't know that either? Of course they know that. So when you have a situation like that, guess what, folks? It is very difficult to trade a player to get the best compensation out of it. So if you're expecting something big, don't expect that. It will be a late round pick, maybe a pick swap, something of that nature. Should the Detroit Lions trade Julian Okwara? In the comment section, put T for trade or P for pass. Let's continue on here. There's been an article done here by the Sideline Report of 4 players the Detroit Lions could look to trade, one of them being Okwara, Romeo Okwara, the veteran of the Detroit Lions, the veteran edge rusher who we had on a couple of teams. Look what he's done throughout his career. Last year as well, 5 games, 2 sacks, 3 solo. He was injured all last year. We know this. We know when he is healthy, he's actually a pretty good pass rusher. Is he like he used to be 2-3 years ago? Probably not. He's probably not to that level yet. He's probably fell off a little bit. But he's still pretty damn good. 76 games, 23 sacks, 93 solo, and 5 forced fumbles throughout his tenure as a Detroit Lion. For the Lions, I could see a situation where teams may like him. I don't see the Detroit Lions trading him away. We have a young group, and I do think it's important to have some veterans on there, especially when you're making a playoff run. Yes, we do got Charles Harris, who's a veteran, but let's make no mistake about it. You'd like to have Romeo Okwara, and he's not expensive at all. So if you're going to trade a player, it makes sense for Julian to be traded instead of Romeo Okwara. I think he does have a spot in this football team. I think him being a veteran, it's not like a Michael Brockers situation where he's fallen off a cliff. Romeo Okwara is not that bad. He really is not that bad. He's pretty good. Good rotational player. But that's my thought on this one. Another player that the Detroit Lions were listed that could be traded from sideline is Will Harris, cornerback / safety. Oh, man. If they could trade him, wouldn't that be great? Well, if you look what he did last year, he played in 15 games, 12 pass defense, 44 solo tackles, 57 combined. You're like, you know what? That's not bad stats for Will Harris. Okay. It could be worse. But if you look at the Lions depth chart, both safety and corner, Stephen Gilmore for the cornerbacks have a higher upside, and they're cheaper. I see the safety position, there's just no room for him there. I mean, the safety position is absolutely stud. If the Lions could somehow trade Will Harris and get a conditional 7th-round pick for him, Brad Holmes would have done the unthinkable, the greatest thing. Because Will Harris, we've seen his ceiling. Mid is great for him. When you do see him, it's generally a bad play. So if the Lions could somehow trade him away, or it's a cut candidate, either way, get rid of Will Harris, it makes sense. Cut, trade, whatever, it would be really, really nice. It would. And I think the Detroit Lions should seriously look at that. And other veterans. You have players, folks, who, in my opinion, have a better upside and they're younger. We have veterans in the secondary already. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's a veteran. Cameron Sutton is a veteran. Jerry Jacobs is now a veteran. We don't need more veteran presence. It's not a situation like the edge rushers. These guys have done it before. That's my opinion. Should the Lions trade Romeo Okwara? Let me know your thoughts. T for trade or P for pass? Another play there as a cut candidate or trade was Craig Reynolds, the Lions' third-string running back right now. He played in 9 games, 23 rushes, 102 yards, and 0 tuds. Look, that's not a lot. He was injured last year, too. He was injured, and that hurt his stock. And if you know me, I am a fan of Craig Reynolds, but I'm also a fan of getting a job done on the field, and I'm a fan of a best ability is availability. But when I look at right now for Craig Reynolds here, I don't see the Lions cutting him. I don't see the Lions trading him. You're not going to get much of anything in a trade, and cutting him, he's a guy that can get it done on the field. He's not great at anything, but he's good at a lot of things. He can catch it, he can run it, he can get crucial yards, and he's a patient. So no, he is the Lions' number 3 running back. I trust him at number 3. Snell I do like. Jamar Jefferson's fighting for it. Not a fan of Jason Kabinda. No. Craig Reynolds makes sense for the Detroit Lions to stay on this football team. Doesn't make sense to me to get rid of him with the roster that we currently have. I think he stays with the Lions. I don't think that occurs. I like Craig Reynolds quite a bit. He's a good piece to the Lions offense. Folks, we're going to be live tomorrow on my channel at 1 and then LNU at 4 p.m. where we got Robert Porcher talking about the Detroit Lions. So it's going to be fun having one of the greatest Lions on to talk football, talk about what he's doing, and talk about the Detroit Lions. Live watch party Friday night, 7:30, all the way till it's over. Post-game show will be on LNU. Post-game video about 15 minutes after that it ends. So subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out.